This is one of those cases that provides a quiet warning about trust, power, and how easily one can lose the benefit of a contract or a gift when there is no equal bargaining power. In 1986, Mrs. Rita Reed was 76 years old. Her husband owned a construction company, CFC Construction Company Limited. He ran the business for years until he fell terminally ill and died. Mrs. Reed became the sole shareholder and the director of the company. During one of her visits to her husband before his death, she met a man, Divine Atichobe. He introduced himself as a friend of her husband who could support the business. After her husband passed, Divine stayed close and offered to bring in business and ensure that things ran smoothly. Slowly, he became indispensable and was appointed as a director. According to court records, Divine took full control of the company's affairs. Mrs. Reed would later allege that he forged documents, handled funds without accountability, and used his position to benefit himself. She convened a meeting to remove him, but perhaps this was not effective, so she went to court, asking for a declaration that Divine had been removed as a director and as a shareholder, and that he must account for all company money in his possession. Divine fought back and he claimed that he had been the managing director of the company for 6 years. He argued that he had earned his place after those years of service and claimed nearly 40 million cedis for services rendered over the period. When the trial started and Mrs. Reed took the stand to testify, she appeared confused and vulnerable. At times, she could not even remember that she was the sole shareholder of her own company. Divine, on the other hand, was sharp and coherent. He testified that he had managed not just the company but Mrs. Reed's personal affairs. He had become her trustee and even had access to her personal account. He was basically in charge of her entire life. He told the court that he had been given 5% shares in the company, with certificates signed by Mrs. Reed as proof. So he was a part owner of the company, but the High Court did not buy his story. It found that a relationship of great trust and dependence existed between him and Mrs. Reed. She trusted and relied on Divine completely. When trust exists at that level, the law becomes suspicious of any benefits gained by the stronger party, and something called undue influence is presumed. The court held that the shares given to Divine were tainted by such undue influence. Accordingly, the share issuance was set aside and he was ordered to account for all of the company property. Divine appealed and he lost. Still determined, he went further to the Supreme Court, and the main issue was whether indeed the lower courts were correct in invalidating the issuance of shares to him. The court, speaking through Dr. Bar JSC, explained carefully two concepts which were applicable to the case. The first being undue influence, which was identified by the lower courts, and another called unconscionability. When one party is under a special disability because of age, illness, lack of understanding, or dependence, and the other party knows this, any transaction between them becomes very questionable. If the stronger party benefits, the law will still assume that something is wrong, unless the stronger party can prove that the transaction was fair, just, and reasonable. This is what we call unconscionable dealing. Undue influence, on the other hand, comes in two distinct forms. The first is straightforward, where somebody actively pressures you into a transaction. In that case, you must prove that the pressure and influence was actually applied to you. But the second form is far more subtle and insidious. It arises where there's a relationship built on trust and confidence, a relationship so strong that the law imposes a presumed influence. Here, the weaker party doesn't need to prove anything. It is rather the stronger party who must prove that they took steps to ensure fairness. The moment that relationship is established, it is presumed that the weaker party has been cheated, and anything valuable exchanged may be set aside. In certain regulated relationships, like that between a lawyer and a client, doctor and a patient, etc., this presumption automatically applies. And even outside these formal rules, once trust and reliance is proven in a relationship, the courts will intervene unless the stronger party can clearly demonstrate that no advantage was taken. Divine, unfortunately, was caught up in both unconscionable dealing and undue influence. Mrs. Reed was under multiple disabilities. Her age, her weakness, and her lack of understanding. It was unconscionable for him to take the benefit of the shares based on her situation. The relationship of control and reliance was also undeniable and clear on the evidence. She placed complete trust in Divine, and so the presumption of undue influence applied. Divine failed to ensure that she received independent advice, and this was enough to set aside the shared allocation to him. His appeal was dismissed. What do we learn from this case? Ghanaian courts may cancel a gift or a contract on the grounds of undue influence or unconscionability. And the scary thing is that in applicable cases, a party only needs to prove the existence of a relationship of trust and confidence. Just based on that, a contract or a gift can be cancelled. What did you learn from this case? Follow Super Law J Studios for more real stories, real cases, real people.